It's not you versus your child. It's you and your child together versus the problem at hand. You know, kind of what's going on right now as opposed to 2016 or 2006 or 1996. You know, it is a time unlike any other. So how do we maintain our principles but also be adaptable to the way culture is shifting and technology is booming? Running toward that person that you actually want to be and cultivating the kind of habits and lifestyle to get you there.
This episode is brought to you by the Arts Council for Monterey County. What makes life feel real? It's expressing yourself, finding your people, and using art to heal, grow, and be heard. The Arts Council for Monterey County, Arts for MC, believes the arts benefit everyone. They bring art into schools, community centers, and public spaces, and support students with scholarships, workshops, and programs like Poetry Out Loud and Youth Poet Laureate. Whether you're an artist or just looking to be inspired, your journey starts here. Learn more at arts4mc.org. That's arts, the number 4, mc.org. And remember, they're also proud sponsors of this podcast. So thank you to the Arts Council for Monterey County.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Offline Expression. My name is Jeff Hinderscheid. I am your host. We are back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are staring down a beautiful day here in January in Central California. It is a nice new year to be alive, take on new goals, and to smash those goals. And to do that, as always, I'm inviting a wonderful guest onto our show today. Chris Rogers is in the house. Chris, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people. What's going on? I was just like feeling like I was in an epic adventure movie with that theme song intro. I love it.
Yes, I know, right? I know. You know, there's you know, probably there's all those rules. There's rules. People's art should be, not taken advantage of. We try to pay people when they do music and stuff like that. So there's some really cool sites out there where people make their music and they put it out there and you can buy it. And so I went on a deep dive one day and listened to hundreds of awesome little audio clips that people were just making. And I'm like, man, this is so cool. And that one popped out like, boom. It was just like you said, putting a cape on, superhero pumped up, all that. So
put you in the zone.
Well, I'm glad. Yes, exactly. And you can hear it because we've upgraded our production system here. So now our guests aren't going, what is he doing? Why is he talking like that? So, Chris, couple of things. One, the world of technology is so wonderful and cool, and yet also we still have our hardships, right? You and I were trying to connect, and I understand that you're not in your most ideal of locations, and yet you still made it work. You have the determination and perseverance to get where you need to get and to do this. And so how are you holding up over there?
I am doing the best I can.
That's right.
There's some sort of shutdown. It'll get rectified. If anything, it's an opportunity to be resourceful and vigilant. So thanks for the opportunity. Powers that be. So here we are.
There you go. Yeah, that happened to me last week on a Friday. I had a really important meeting coming up in the morning, had about 2 hours of work to do beforehand, and the internet just went down, done, in the entire town. So not only could I not do the work, I couldn't have that meeting because it was all virtual, and like the whole day just went skewed off into the ether or whatever. But so I get it. I totally get it. But you still made it, man. I love that. So thank you. Thank you for making us a part of your day.
And thank you for having me. Greetings to both you and your audience from the public library.
So what public library are you in? Where are you located?
I am from Long Island, New York. I am in the town that I live in called Bethpage. Here we are today, the beautiful locale of the Bethpage Public Library.
Wonderful. It's actually beautiful back there. I love the decor. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty modern and nice. Yeah. Hey,
we got a vibe going on.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that there are amazing public spaces that people can go to get the services they need, internet and, research stuff. And a lot of times I was just talking to somebody, we're getting off topic already, sorry, but I was just talking to somebody the other day about the Dewey Decimal System. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, of course. That comes up every day in conversation, obviously.
Yeah, man. When I was a kid, when you went to the library, you had to know the Dewey Decimal System, go through all the Rolodexes, look for the stuff you're trying to find. And am I getting a history book? Am I looking for a biography? Like, what is going on?
Right.
And so now that we have Google in our pockets, wherever we go, there's a lot of young people that don't know what that system really is or never go to a library. I mean, I used to have exciting days where like my mom was like, we're going to the library today. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go spend 4 hours walking around reading little books on the floor and stuff. And it's surprising how often young people don't know where the library is or have not been in it. It's pretty remarkable, actually. So good for you for being at a library.
Absolutely. Proud to be here, man.
Yeah. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And then, in whatever fashion that suits you best. And then we'll start talking about how you got there and why it is so important today.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Chris Rogers. I'm from New York, lived here all my life. I am a musician. I am a worship leader. I am somebody who wears a whole lot of hats. I have taught professionally in New York City as a music teacher for like the better part of a decade. But starting in 2023, I took a giant leap of faith and decided to go into coaching full time. I coach those individuals that have fallen on hard times through irresponsibility with the internet. And we'll talk more about the specifics with that, although you can probably guess where this is going. To make a long story short, as far as how I happened to get involved, when it comes to compulsive behaviors in this particular arena, just to cut to the chase, you name the thing, I've done the thing, and I'm going to leave it at that. It was a real compulsive behavior, and I really just was sitting in the driver's seat of a lot of my decision making, and it obviously impacted my sense of presence, my relationships, and I could certainly go on. But when I joined a particular program that radically changed my life, not even trying to be over the top, by the way, shout out to the company called Elevator Recovery, who I now work for as a full-time coach. This is what I do. I'm a certified porn addiction and sex addiction recovery coach. I'm a certified relapse prevention specialist. And last year, I started my own program, which is called Rebooted Teen. So it's essentially the same program that I went through and really, really helped me out, but adapted to a younger demographic. Taking my experience in the classroom, and working with that part, working with that age range and talking about these otherwise sensitive topics that might feel a little awkward or uncomfortable, understandably so, and kind of break it down in a way that a student can understand. There's also what's called the Rebooted Teen Parent Program, which is the free resources one can find online at rebootedteen.com. And it's for parents. Literally how to initiate those types of conversations, how to instill a culture of curiosity instead of shame, like how do you bring things up without, making, the child the enemy, and we talk about this oftentimes in the program, but the overarching theme, or not the least of which, is, it's not you versus your child. It's you and your child together versus the problem at hand. So when it comes to this particular world, a lot of it is stigmatized and swept under the rug, but all the more reason why it's just a community to talk about these things, whether you happen to be struggling yourself or know someone close to you who happens to have fallen on hard times because of it as well. But as a guy who's been there, both in professional experience and life experience, that's what I'm here for. That's a major part of who I am, and that's what I do.
Wow, man. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you are out there doing that, and there's groups still making sure to, acknowledge the fact that it's not villainizing a child for being basically a victim, in my opinion. When it comes to the digital world, I mean, the book I'm writing right now is about the fact that for a long time in the last decade or 20 years, I guess, there's been that us versus them, parents versus the kids type of a feeling like, oh, they just want to sit in their room. They don't even come out and talk to us. They won't talk when we have our grandma over, and they want to be on their phone all day, and I have to yell at them and take it away, and then it becomes a punishment and there's a fight. But the reality is the brain is not set up to battle the amount of dopamine addictive, fragmented attention getting things that are online and available in a teenager's hand 24 hours a day. That is a parent's job to remove. And oftentimes that is where you have to start, that root of the problem. Like, so I really love that you say it's not you versus your teen, parent versus teen. It's you and your teen versus the problem. And recognizing a problem is the first step to any recovery process, as far as I've always known. And I'm also, I've got my own addictive personality, and I've, like you, I've been through a lot of those things, and the shame part can be overwhelming as it is. So having a safe space to say, I got an issue here and I really don't want to have the issue anymore, but I definitely don't know how to tell someone that I have the issue to get the help that I think I need to no longer have that issue. So that's a really great place to start, man. It's good that you're doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, man. And absolutely. And, to your point, as far as, I mean, I get it from a teacher's perspective. I mean, you don't think I ever said to a kid, like, yo, like, put your phone away. Of course, any teachers out there. Of course. But here's one thing that is particularly unique about this generation. This generation meaning, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like the generation that is just coming out of high school or either just in middle school or high school right now. What makes this period of time, 2026, really unlike anything we've seen before. I can say something like, put your phone away, look outside, touch grass, and all those things. From my perspective, and really the heart of a lot of the conversations that I have, that when it comes to this generation's dependency and addiction to technology, it's not 100% their fault. I mean, think about what happened in 2020. From a teacher's perspective, we went from, going through the day-to-day and then started doing the school online. So especially for my younger students, I taught, all throughout high school, but I also taught as young as kindergarten, right? So here we have, these young students essentially being taught, all right, here's a screen. Here is everything you could ever really want or need. So we're teaching, oh, this is where school is. Oh, this is where my entertainment is. Oh, this is where my community is. Oh, this is where my information is. So when you say something like, look away from your screen, understandably, there is this attitude of like, why? When all I have is right here. It's not a matter of not understanding that, birds are flying and that's amazing. It's just like everything I need is right here. So coming from that sort of like seeing things from their point of view, especially when they're as young as like 5 or 6, and then when they start coming back to school, and it's no wonder that, socially, even if they might be in 1st or 2nd grade, they still have the social skills as if they were in pre-K or kindergarten, So what we talk about is real emphasis on using technology as a tool, not a toy, right? And what we talk about are things like, the value of community. Like, yeah, we can talk about like getting out there and touching grass, but really, like, the concept of community has a new definition. I mean, here we are with, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and the concept of followers and like, developing and meeting people and interacting with people in this particular way. So I think one thing that, my generation and older may have kind of gotten wrong is using the phrase with the best of intentions when I was your age. And one thing that we got to keep in mind, we got to have a slice of humble pie that while we obviously are coming from a healthy place wanting to help, we got to keep in mind that that phrase doesn't apply as neatly as we perhaps might think it does. So what we talk about in both programs is, kind of what's going on right now as opposed to 2016 or 2006 or 1996. It is a time unlike any other. So how do we maintain our principles but also be adaptable to the way culture is shifting and technology is booming?
Yes. Oh, man. We are speaking the same language, my friend, because I'm very excited obviously for my book situation, but several of the things you just said, I feel like just come right out of it because you are Absolutely right. It is critical to understand two of the things that you said that I really want to point out. One, in 2020, when COVID hit and everything went awry, we told everyone, adults and teenagers and kids alike, you're going to do everything at home so you could stay safe. And safe meant on your screen. It meant working on your screen. It meant shopping on your screen. It meant socializing with friends on your screen. It meant homework on your screen. It meant studies in classrooms on your screen. It meant everything on your screen. So a year later, if anybody expects that not to have taken hold, that is silly. It's just ignorant to think that you can just, oh, well, I guess we're done with that now. Throw that out. And that's not how it works. So there's a beautiful expand, not replace, right? We don't just say, well, I've proven that I can work my 40-hour-a-week job from my house. And so you should let me work at my house now. Well, bosses didn't do that. There may have been some, a little bit of a hybrid situation. Maybe we did learn some things about, okay, well, we're going to save a little bit of money by having the office closed 2 days a week because the lights aren't running and the electricity, blah, 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 blah. But the productivity's still there. So maybe we did learn some things in that regard. But the amount of juggling that can happen with the fragmented attention of that screen's on over there, that screen's on over there, this screen's on in my phone is not something you just walk away from. So it's very difficult to turn around and tell somebody in Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever, you don't actually need all that when they literally did and were told by everyone in their lives that they did.
Exactly.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
The second piece is what you said about the generation, like first time in human history, millennia. Okay, we're talking societal changes astronomically different from any other living generation ever. The gap between a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old now, it's not 20 years. It's like 2 full lifetimes based on the amount of change that has happened with the connectivity around the globe through technology and digital ability. To go from having 13 channels when you're a kid and having to sit in front of a TV on Wednesday at 6 p.m. because that show's on, and if you missed it, you missed it. There wasn't a rerun, and only getting to watch cartoons on a Saturday morning, and all those things to literally any show, any music, anything, anytime, all day long is not normal, and it's not the same as anybody else's experience. It just isn't. So that is a valid point, man.
No, I'm right there with you, man. And yeah, so this is why it's important to have these kind of conversations, because like you were saying, and I'm sure you talk about this on your show often, when it comes to the way we're built, the way the mind is designed, we're not wired to handle this level of stimulation. Like our limbic system is just going crazy, Right. So especially when you're in your developmental years, when you're in your formative years of middle school and high school, like when it comes to the boom of technology, I mean, here we are in the age of where social media is not just something you can do, it's kind of part of the cultural zeitgeist. Like there is this sort of like, ostracizing that's felt if you're not on TikTok or Instagram, right. You're the weird one, it's like, it's just the norm now. So it's just like how, we're talking about a generation that doesn't know what life is like before the internet, or doesn't know what life is like before social media being that embedded into the DNA of the current culture. And particularly, when you add like a sexual element to it, I mean, that's just, it takes that, ember and turns it into a flame, right? As far as the way it affects the brain, right. And we can geek out about that, but that's really what we're trying to talk about. It's not a matter of like shame. It's just like, look, this is what's going on. And what is it that you want? What is it that's important to you? What's important to your own life? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And is this series of choices going to lead you closer to it or further away? It really is an art form of self-awareness and self-analysis, as opposed to something online telling you what to think and feel and do. We're trying to instill, or perhaps reinstill, that essence of humanity. Like, what am I doing? Like, how am I feeling? What do I really want beyond this particular urge or beyond this particular feeling? That's really what I mean when we're talking about instilling that sense of curiosity. So what I started to do with this whole Rebooted Parent program was really speak to, their first teachers, their first influencers, really, like their parents, right? What can you do now to help instill that culture of curiosity? Because I'm never going to tell somebody how to be a father. I'm never going to tell somebody how to be a mother. That's not my role. That's not my job. I just want to hold you accountable and give you the different tips and tools to have you, again, find that balance between maintaining the structure of your household, but also meeting your child where they're at. You have to keep in mind when it comes to the internet, particularly about like things about pornography, they're being exposed to things that they don't quite understand yet,
Right.
So again, it's the art form of I can say all these things. It's like, oh yeah, I know that logically, but we really zone into what that looks like in a practical way. So that's why, like, as you can tell, like my heart's just really, really in this. I think
Yeah.
it's, you know, giving parents, again, just extra verbiage to use. Because, when you're talking, we have all had like the talk, whether they call it the birds and the bees talk or whatever, you know, maybe, I mean, I don't know how it was, when you were growing up, but it was a bit of an awkward conversation, you know,
Yep.
you know?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so many different pieces to this because there's the fact that, um, as Freud would tell us, there's the id and the ego, right? So, like, one of those things, the id is like your carnal desire underneath everything. It's just like what the body almost instinctually is trying to get right now. Like
Mhm.
it could be a real dark thought in a flash of a second. There could be some real dark moments where you're like, oh, whoa, that was weird, where people think about violence or sexual activities or things of this nature. And then here comes the ego, the conscience, to say, there's rules about this and you know better than that. And mom has taught you not to do this and da 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 da, da and all the right versus wrong and stuff like that, that keeps most of us, that keeps a lot of people in check in a lot of ways. Like there's two different parts of the moral compass that grows with the brain system. So that is a big deal. But when it's tapped into too young, when the id is allowed to run free and doesn't have that other piece yet, and gets to go, well, that was really fun and I enjoyed it, then learns all the reasons why you're not supposed to, or it's not good for you, or it's unhealthy, or it leads to these other things. It doesn't understand that as well, and it's a way harder uphill battle. So that's the first piece. And then the second piece, as Jonathan Haidt says in The Anxious Generation, one of the things that separates human species from other animals is that most animals reach their full maturity to reproduction within the first couple years of life, very quickly. Boom, boom, adolescence, reproduce. Just total Darwin-like evolutionary stuff with that. Human beings, we grow fast till about 5, 6, 7-ish, and then we slow. And we don't get to reproduction for 5, 6, 7 years because the human brain requires time to learn and learn and learn. And that's systems, it's relationships, it's communication, it's physical ability, it's your own talents, your own things that you're interested in. It's so much that you have to take in. So our human species is designed for that. And so here comes this product out of nowhere where these people with these billion-dollar corporations that are literally designed to take the one most important thing we have, which is our attention and our engagement and our time, and they put it in front of the most vulnerable of our group and fast forward button on the learning stuff. And once you see something or hear something or watch something, you can't just unhear that or unsee that. And
Right.
it's too much for them. It's just
Absolutely.
too much too fast when they're not ready. They haven't been able to socially learn why that is what's happening to them, and the id starts to take over. And that's a bad combination if you don't have people that are guiding and telling them what's happening.
I really love how you articulated that. Like my running joke is like, when it comes to having young people be introduced to topics that they don't have like a life reference to yet, or just things that are kind of beyond their stage of development, they're sort of being thrust into a boss level without fully learning the controls, you know?
Right.
So
Great point.
I totally hear where you're coming from, and I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and that's a good analogy. I was thinking myself, I'm like, you know, you don't just get on the largest roller coaster in the world when you're 5 years old. You got to get on a carousel. You got to get on the kiddie ride with mom, and you're still scared, and then you ease into some things to decide whether or not you like it, and you might come to a point where you go, actually, I don't. I have learned I don't
Mm,
like spinny rides. I don't actually enjoy that feeling, and therefore I don't want to get on that one because I already know I'm not interested
yep.
or whatever. But if you just jump right on the teacups and you get sick, what's going to happen? You're either A, going to like it so much that now you're going to be seeking more and more and more thrill all the time, and none of the other stuff under that's going to ever meet that, or
Wow.
you're going to hate it so much that now you've rebuked it permanently to where you're terrified of it. And that's
Mm.
not how you can really learn where you want to go with life. And so when it comes to something like digital addiction, like pornography, and the sexual side of stuff, it's kind of a combination of all these things, because there is obviously a instinctual human element to our natural growth and life that desires that and wants that connectivity and enjoys it, and there's a beautiful place for it in the world. But when it's isolated into just the dopamine thrill-seeking pleasure of it and removed from the other side, one of those two things can happen. Either A, stunted from it, scared from it, and every relationship for the rest of your life is now affected, or thrown right into it to an addictive level, and every relationship in your life is now affected by it.
And I certainly fall into the latter category, full transparency. I totally get what that's like, you know? And yeah, I mean, it really kind of comes down to that, that boss level before you fully learn the game type of analogy. And so the question ultimately becomes, what do you do? Right. And that sort of leads into, the, creation of these programs. And a lot of the things we talk about is exactly that. If and when, if/when, your child gets to that stage of development where feeling, those natural human sexual drives, when they happen, it's an opportunity to express like, okay, as a parent, as a caregiver, as a guardian, it's your job to let them know that this thing that you're experiencing, it's healthy, it's normal, it's how you're built. Like I speak to clients like all the time that, have really kind of fallen deep into a rabbit hole. It's like, man, how do I make urges go away? And I'm like, homie, you figure that one out. You let me know.
You let me know. Exactly.
It's how you're wired, What we're talking about is, just like feeling healthy sexual urges and lust, which essentially is the obsession with that feeling to the point where, as I said before, it's kind of become the driver in the car of your decision making, right?
Right.
So that's a lot of that separation process. So let's say a parent finds something, suggestive or suspicious in the internet search history, right? And it's an opportunity for a conversation. Like there's a story that I go back to where, it was a family party. And my cousins, they have a young son who was kind of coming of age, maybe like 11, 12 or whatever. And they're like, and they know what I do. And apparently they found, something weird on their search history. And, they had, kind of like checked out what was going on their phone and were a little, what? They're looking up that? And they wanted to talk to me. It's like, hey, can you talk to him? It's a family party. So I'm just like, now?
Really?
So
I'm off duty.
Yeah, I'm off the clock. But I take him aside. I'm just like, what's up, man? Like, your parents were telling me, like, something was going on. Like, what was going on? Like, how you feeling? And he was like, oh, yeah, it was like porn and stuff. And I was like, okay, like, what is that? Like, kind of playing dumb in a way. But again, just in the sense of like instilling that culture of curiosity. What do you already know? Rather than me just kind of verbally vomit all my dictionary brain stuff on you, it's just like, how does this make you feel, right? So he's like, oh, it's just like sex and stuff or whatever. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, just what is that? Like, how do you feel when you go about that? If I go about just like, sounding like a textbook, I'm going to lose them. You know, it's not a matter of, oh, they have a short attention span, they don't listen. It's like
Right.
people won't know, or what's the expression? People won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You know,
Right.
remember
Good
what
one.
the target is. Write this down, people who are listening and watching. It's not a matter of the behavior. It's simply a symptom for something that's going on internally, right? That's what to get curious about. It's like, it's not the thing, it's the place from which it's coming from. That's where compulsive behaviors oftentimes derive. It's what's that inner, like, magnet that's like pulling you closer toward a particular behavior or substance, whatever it happens to be. Get curious about that thing. So we were just starting to talk about just like feelings, like, yeah, sometimes when I'm bored or sometimes I'm feeling, lonely and stuff. It's like, okay. So, we could talk about the ins and outs of what something like porn is, but again, what's the target? It's not the thing,
Yeah.
it's the place from which it's coming from. And when I
Right.
say, instill a culture of curiosity, I'm not saying, let your child run amok and let's just, only do the gentle parenting approach. What I'm saying is
Right.
it really goes back to that moral. No one's going to care how much you know until they know how much you care. You set the standards for your households, but you're the captain of the team, right? But you're still on a team.
Right.
Your players still have to play, and they got to know that they
Right.
can depend on you and trust you. You're still the authority figure, but it's one of those things where it's like, we've all had a bad boss.
Right.
Like, fun fact, my first job, I used to work at McDonald's. And I had this, oh my gosh, this obscenely just super micromanaging. Nothing I could do is ever good enough and just breathing down my neck. And it was like that helicopter type of thing, always on me, right?
Yeah.
The goal of something like the Rebooted Teen Parent Program is, again, to provide the parents with tools, with techniques and tips to help initiate some of those conversations where they might feel a little weird about, like, talking about sex, talking about porn. It's like, they'll figure it out
Right.
eventually. They'll learn about it eventually.
Yeah.
So why not have them learn about it from you? So by the
Right.
time they've already built up a muscle memory of checking in with themselves, like, what's going on internally to the point where it's affecting me externally? Having cool, fun conversations like that. We talk about that more in the program as far as what that looks like. But let's say when they turn 18 or when they go off to college or whatever, and they don't have a device that has a filter on it, or they don't have a computer that has like a blocker on it of some kind. Do they have that level of wherewithal and that muscle memory so that when they're kind of free range, they'll be able to cope effectively? You know,
Right.
that's what we're preparing them for. It's not just about getting them to stop watching porn or like be so compulsively attached to social media. It's about what's going on internally to the point where it's affecting me externally, instilling that culture of curiosity. So I completely just went off there, but that's what it's all about.
Nope. That's why you're here, man. I love it. And I always marvel at the fact that there's so much good work going on with people in different areas, yet it almost always comes back to the same thing in order to have really good forward progress. And that is, just like you said, what's really going on. If you say to somebody, don't do that, that's not effective. And harsh punishment, also not effective. What we've learned psychologically, what that does is it actually starts to sow some deceitful patterns to where people try not to get caught rather than just, oh, yeah, I never thought of it like that. That's bad for me. I won't ever do it again. Thank you, cured, fixed, whatever, And so that's just not how we do it. That's not how people work. So going back to what you were saying, what's really happening in here that's making your external behaviors kind of try to mask that. I mean, we know that with psychological stuff, most stuff almost every single disorder, mental health issue is comorbid. So when it comes to addiction, especially whether it's digital, sexual, drugs, alcohol, doesn't matter. 99.9% of the time, that is because something else isn't there. Something else is needing to be masked. Something else needs to be numbed. Something else isn't being addressed and properly worked on, and it's being avoided, and it's growing, and it's becoming more and more of a problem, to where I gotta kind of turn my attention elsewhere to something that makes me feel good,
Yeah.
instead of this thing that I guess we're not going to deal with or talk about because it feels bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I love how you said that. That's literally what compulsive behaviors are, if anything. And I say this to people all the time. It's not the thing, it's the place from which it's coming from. So what does that mean? In the case of, let's say, excessive compulsive attachment to something like the internet, particularly with something like porn, right? If anything, that wasn't the problem. That was the solution, you know?
Right.
It's an unhealthy, solution for many, but the problem is like, again, that inner magnet. What's that thing, That's how we've been sort of coping. It just so happened to have been this thing. But what's really interesting about this particular world of compulsive behaviors, as opposed to like a substance-based behavior, this is something that's called a process addiction. So it's not just the act itself, right? It's the process, it's the buildup, it's the secrecy, it's the the searching, right? It's the buildup. It's that particular cocktail of chemicals that fires up in your brain that when you take a swig, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's your high.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Absolutely.
talk a lot about like the rush of dopamine. We could talk about like norepinephrine, which like classifies like certain things as important. It's just like, ooh, like this makes me feel like connected to something. Like it kind of like stores in your memory. There's an adrenal response. I mean, there's endogenous opiates that are produced naturally in your body when it comes to a sexual surge. Like we're talking not just about, sex is bad, porn is bad. It's just like there is a chemical reaction to what you are being exposed to, right? So
Right.
this is how it affects not just your perspective and your relationships, but to an extent your biochemistry, literally how
Yeah.
you're wired, how you're built. So all the more reason why to instill these curiosity, compassion-led conversations early on in life. Because you'll never hear me say to a client, and this might be a little controversial, you'll never hear me say to a client, don't watch porn. You're never going to hear
Right.
me say that. Two reasons why. One, it's something that they ultimately have to want. That's the first major thing. I can't want it for them. The second thing is, again, that's not the target. There's going to be a hustle either way when it comes to the recovery process, but the way we're going to work, it's not just simply running away from something, but running toward what it is that you actually do want, running toward that person that you actually want to be, and cultivating the kind of habits and lifestyle to get you there. We're going to talk about
Right.
boundaries. We're going to talk about values. We're going to talk about goals and aspirations, things that matter to you, right? To the point where you become the type of person that doesn't need to rely on something like excessive exposure to social media or, excessive time spent with porn. It's not a matter of like, oh, let me just replace this behavior with something else. Let me do X instead of Y. That's not the formula. It's like, let me
Right.
live out X because that's who I want to be. That's who I truly am. That's the essence of me. And Y is just a non sequitur. Like it's not even in the equation. And through the Rebooted Teen program, what I do is I break down all of the different facets of, what porn is. This is how it affects your brain. But ultimately, this is what you can do about it with what you already know. Sometimes people will not be so quick on the draw when it comes to starting the recovery process because it's sort of like, ooh, I'm going to make a reference right now. Have you ever seen the movie The Princess Bride?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
So there's the scene where they're looking up at the cliffs of insanity and they look up and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like this huge mountain to climb. So they're just like, well, screw that. I'm never going to get there.
Yeah.
But really, it is a real practical, real compassionate approach where we're going to on the balance beam, there's like equal sides, like compassion, like what are you feeling? How are you doing? No, how are you really doing? You know? And with, okay, that sense of accountability. Here's what
Right.
to do. Here's how to do it based on research. And it's honestly work that I'm really, really proud of. And I think that work
I
needs to
bet.
get done, not just because I'm doing
Yes,
it,
it
because it's a
does.
job that needs to get done, you know?
And more than ever, because you're going to be fighting an uphill battle on top of that.
Dude, I
Because
mean, we're
the
talking
accessibility
about,
is insane.
yeah, I mean, we're
Like
talking about,
the
mhm.
accessibility itself is like the fact that pornography is literally at the touch of a button on so many different levels and platforms and ways that you can get access to it is crazy. It's just it's really unbelievable.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's the same for anything. I mean, you could buy anything in the world, really, if you wanted to, from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's inmates who have gotten degrees and worked really hard through online sources to better themselves after having a rough go at life. So, of course, there's people out there that are making money and executives of places and stuff that have the ability to get in there and do some not so great things. There's so much. You could build an entire person, an entire identity
That's,
from birth certificate through social security card, a whole
mm-hmm.
entire human being's life in on the internet without that person ever having existed. Like
Yeah.
that is craziness. So the fact that now everybody has access is only going to sequential your amount of people that need this type of help out there because they don't understand. And it's not because they're bad. That's the biggest, most important thing to know. It's not because you are a bad person. It's not because you did something and you intentionally went and did something you weren't supposed to do because you're evil. No, it's because unchecked accessibility, not understanding, and parents could be great parents and still struggle to keep up with this stuff because they aren't, like we said earlier, the generation gap now is so wide that there are a lot of parents in their 50s who just don't even understand how much stuff a phone can do. And they'll tell you that. I don't know how this thing works. I don't know. They sent me a link on some app. I don't know what that is. And like, to us, or those of us that are used to it, we see the words right on the screen. It's like, it's right there. Just press this button and you unsubscribe there. You go this. It says click here. Like, what do you mean you don't see it? Like, you don't know. They literally can't see it. Their brain hasn't been trained that way.
Yeah.
So they could be the greatest parents in the world and still not understand just how much accessibility they've put into a person's hand, a child's hand. And so the education goes twofold because they're the ones that are going to be in the trenches every day. As great as the systems and programs like you have here and other programs that are available to people are, this voice up here never goes away.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be going with you into every single room all the time. And we're not, you're not, mom's not, but
Mm-hmm.
that voice is all the time. And so if you're not good friends with that person up there helping you talk about all those things that are going on inside, it's going to be a hard run. It's going to be hard. You got to figure out, like you said, you're not running away from something, you're running towards what you want. And that is a really good way to look at it. If you run around crazy, like, you might not get anywhere.
Right.
You
Right.
might end up right back in the circle that you're in. But if you
Right.
know where you're going, you're getting farther away from that point you started. And that's huge.
It's huge. No, thank you so much for that. I really, really love that. Wherever you go, there you are. Right. And again,
Right.
instilling that lesson now, not when it's like instilling that culture of curiosity now. That is the magic word. And one, just to kind of give a practical example of how we kind of go about making friends with that voice upstairs, right? There's an exercise that I love introducing to young people. We have a blast with it, mostly because it really strikes a chord with me when I first learned about this. It radically changed my perspective on just my own thinking patterns, my own emotional patterns. It comes from, the internal family system sort of idea. For those who don't know what that is, there's an exercise that I think is really practical, whether you're dealing with a compulsive behavior or not. If you just want to increase your own sense of self-awareness, your own mental health, check this out. There's this tool called dialoguing. Long story short, it's a journaling exercise. So what you do, take a notebook, bust out a pen or pencil, and you literally write out a conversation between yourself and a particular thought pattern or emotion or an urge of some
Okay.
kind. You give it a name, you give it a voice, you give it the chance to express itself. So it's literally, if I were to do it, I'd be like, maybe Chris, just write a thought that I have. And then I'd write addict Chris, for example. I would write from that particular feeling's point of view. So what
Yeah.
do? You literally have a separation process between yourself and that particular, as Dr. George Collins would call it, a subpersonality. It's a part of your personality, but it's not the entire thing, right? So literally having a conversation with that part of you. So what does that one
Right.
example do? You are not it, and it is not you. So you're separating yourself from it, not out of the sense of like suppression or like shoo thought, don't bother me, or let me distract myself.
Right.
It's just showing yourself really that sense of compassion to that part. There's a way that I like to think of it. It's like, let's imagine you get home from work, right? You come home after a long day at 5 o'clock, right? Plop onto the couch. Then all of a sudden you hear a doorbell ring. You're just like, now. You go to the door.
Uh-oh.
And you open up the door, and it's somebody that you are not exactly a fan of. So whoever just popped into your head right now, that's who's at the door. Whether
Got it.
Got it. So you have two options in this scenario. You can either go, ugh, and slam the door in their face, or you can let them in at least for a little while and ask why they came to visit you at all. This is what dialoguing is all about. It's all about choosing option number 2. You pour them a cup of coffee, and again, I feel like a broken record, but get curious. Like, they didn't just knock on your door for no reason. So
Right.
what is it that you have to say? What is it that you want? And you give them a chance to share that. And when you're writing it in your notebook, speaking from that feeling or thought pattern's point of view, you have to really feel it in order to really know what it
Right.
has to say. You're allowing that feeling to process. It's your nervous system trying to tell you something. That's it. It's not a feeling or a sensation that is out to get you. And this can be a real awesome exercise to get to build that kind of relationship. But here's the best part. Because it's your house, you have the final say to when it's time for them to leave.
Right.
So it puts
That's a good
the
point.
power back into your hands. So again, you build up that relationship with the thought upstairs or the heart in here, but not out of this place of shame, not out of this place of I shouldn't be feeling this or whatever it is, or suppression of some kind. It's
Right.
that sense of compassion. If I get a paper cut on my pinky, I'm not going to scream at it like, what is wrong with you? It's just a part of me that just needs healing right now. That's
Right.
it. Right? I'm just
Right.
giving it what it needs. So when it comes to our own thoughts and feelings, it's trying to tell us something. And if we're always taking the distracting route, we'll never know what that thing is. So that's just one example of the things that we talk about, different coping skills that, again, instill that culture of curiosity to, again,
Yeah.
aid them not just in their compulsive behaviors, but in their everyday lives.
Yeah, and you know what? That is a really good practical starting point too, because a lot of our listeners will agree. It's like listening to an audiobook, right? It's like, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. And yes, that makes so much sense. And that I totally get that. And I agree. Now what? Right? And so like, where do you start is oftentimes the hardest part. It's bridging that gap from, I know there's an issue. I know what I want. I just don't know how to do it. How do I get from A to B? And so a dialogue journaling exercise is so powerful. And it's a powerful thing over many other mediums as well. But that's a really good one. I like that idea. And then that analogy about letting somebody in when whoever's at the door, like that is such a really good reminder, I think, to anybody. Like, I've been doing this kind of thing for a long time. And I understand that sometimes I'm having a bad day And so I have to be like extra vigilant and on point and recognizing signs of things that are happening and like putting some other systems in place, writing some lists, and really like refocusing a lot of positive self-talk going on. And that's with decades of experience learning how to do it. So even then, there's days when I'm like, can't, I just can't. And that is a great reminder and an extra little piece that I really enjoy. So thank you for sharing that. The other thing that I think is awesome is it reminds me of I'm getting certified right now as a drama therapist. So like I do theater and like the arts are my passion and working with youth. Yeah, working with youth and kids and stuff through the action of physically having to work as a team, build empathy, develop this live, beautiful piece of living theater art is already, I mean, the writing's on the wall, but how beneficial that is for people in general, but the cultural art, the positivity and all that. But the extra piece of drama therapy is kind of similar to what you're talking about with this dialogue process. You know, it's inviting in that situation that has been an issue, inviting in that conversation and then role playing it and seeing how it fits and then going, oh, I didn't like the way I said that. I won't say that. Oh, I didn't like the way they made me feel when this happened. Okay, if that happens, how do I deal with it without letting the raw emotion be the response and reactivity versus letting it land and actually behaving in a way that gives you the dignity to go, I did the best I could there. And so all those exercises are critical. So that's wonderful stuff, man. I love what you're doing, Chris, man. This is such a big deal. And there's so many programs in the world for drugs and alcohol, and that's good. We love those for sure. But sometimes this is like the real gateway drug can be the stuff that you're looking at because it makes you feel good. And it's not necessarily killing your muscles and your bones or whatever, or like your brain cells in the same sense. I mean, we know there's a biochemical reaction, like you said, and there's an argument there, but you know what I'm saying. It's easy to go, oh, this feels good up here, so I'm going to find other things that meet that. And so it can often be an open door right into the other stuff. And a lot of times when you start hanging around with other people that are already into that, now they go hand in hand. So getting out in front of it, and like you said, the magic word is now, right now, leading by curiosity now, asking questions now, figuring it out now, and being open about it. Let's put it on the table, sort through the cards, and see where we're at. And it's wonderful, man. I really love that you're doing this.
Thank you.
How
do
people get involved? How do people find out about this if they need to know, like, hey, this is the situation I'm dealing with. What do I do? Tell them where to go and what to do and some things that they can start with.
Yeah, for sure. You know, if you are a parent.
Oh, no, I lost your audio again, man.
Oh, darn it.
Sorry. There you are. We're back.
We're back. Sorry about that.
Sorry, man.
Hilarious, though. It's clearly not a dialogue. Yeah. It's a monologue. Well, as a retired theater kid myself, that definitely hits home. So I'm glad that you're doing that. That's awesome.
You're in New York, man. I mean, come on.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Love it.
My, two truths and a lie is that I actually did an off-Broadway show. So that's like my humble brag. So it's pretty, before I became a teacher.
Cool brag.
Yeah, man. That's how I was getting work for a while. Yeah.
I love that, man. I bet you're great at it. That's one of the reasons why, like, I think that when you're a theater trained person, that's why it's so important, right? It's so important because it's confidence building. Look at the way you can communicate and speak to people. You can lead. You can see the writing on the wall. Like, people will be compelled to. It's interesting to watch and listen to. There's a reason that person is doing that. So I pegged you as a theater kid in some way. I did, because I'm like, look at this personality. He's animated. He's got a good inflection in his tone. I bet that he does great work out there. So,
man, it's been a while.
Not in a disrespectful way, in a complimentary way.
No, I get it.
You're like, theater again.
I totally get it. I totally get it, man. No, we are kindred spirits, no doubt about it.
That's right.
But when it comes to, for anybody who might be curious as far as, how do I get started? And, again, when it comes to this particular part of life or this particular part of the internet, don't really know how to start conversations about it. I feel a little uncomfortable. I feel a little ill-equipped. What do I do? I would suggest start out with the free material. You can find it at rebootedteen.com. You sign up for it, and it's a free series of modules hosted and, filmed and edited all by myself. And it's
Nice.
all about, the things that you can practically start doing right now, and very, very actionable, very, very doable. And if you're
Okay.
looking to join a community, we have a private Facebook group for other parents and guardians that are involved in the program as well. And if you feel that the Rebooted Teen program is the right move for your child, if you are wanting to take their own, mental health and their own struggles and take their progress from good to great, then I'd be more than willing and more than honored to work with your child. This is my world. This is my passion. And yeah, it's all with families in mind. If families
Nice,
are a
man.
team, we're trying to make the team win. But every great team has a
Yep.
coach, right? So
Yep.
you don't gotta white knuckle this. You don't gotta figure it all out by yourself. We're here for information, but at the end of the day, we're here for transformation. So that's what the Rebooted Teen and Rebooted Teen programs are all. Rebooted Teen parent programs are all
Mhm.
about. And that's what I got going on. So you can check out at
Wow.
Rebooted Teen on Instagram. And
Okay.
I hope to see y'all in the program.
Awesome, man. Well, Chris, this has been a real pleasure, man. I'm so grateful. Thank you for finding a place to go, the library, and figuring out the internet situation, and then B, for the work that you're doing. I'm going to be in touch with you because I think that there's a lot of good work we could do to continue this conversation.
yeah.
You said a lot of things in our interview that really resonate with me. Like, everybody always brings something to the table that I resonate with, but some of the things you were saying, I was like, oh my gosh, I say that. Oh my gosh, I just wrote that in this chapter. Oh my gosh. Da, 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 da. So we have like a lot of, similar stances, and then we work with people, right? We coach people. We talk to people. We put it out there where it's not about the shame. It's about the let's get together and work together and stuff like that. So I think that we might be able to collaborate on some other things in the future if you'd be open to that.
I love it. Us theater kids got to unite, man.
That's right, baby. That's right. That's exactly right. We're going to get ourselves a Tony on this.
Let's do it.
All right, Chris. Well, I'm going to let you go, man. But if there's anything I forget, please do feel free to reach out. And hopefully we can touch base again and do a follow-up soon. But in the meantime, keep on keeping on, brother.
Thank you, brother. You likewise.
Absolutely. Dude, you're awesome, man. That was great. Thank you
Sick.
so much, dude.
That was good stuff, man.
Hey, yeah, heck yeah, man. I'm going to go through with my team, and we'll edit out those two little parts where we had a little sound issue.
Yeah,
It's no big
thank
deal.
you.
That'd be
It's
easy.
so annoying, but
Yeah.
thank you, man.
I've been there, man. I know what it feels like. Hey, just out of curiosity, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, so you're way younger than me,
Okay.
10 years younger than me. And I mean,
Uh-huh.
I thought so when I first saw you, but I got to tell you, man, it is impressive to see how much you know and how much you do, how active you are already in this
Thank
at
you.
a young age. I think you're gonna have a very long and promising career in this work. So keep it up, dude.
I really appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
But wait,